So the first thing I wanted to do is talk to you about the big why, right? Why are we here? Why real estate? This is a really interesting topic, and I think it's important to start our training with that. Is I want you to really think to yourself, why did you get your license in real estate, right? Why are you going to be a real estate agent? And it should not be because I saw it on TV or because there's nothing else for me to do, which is why a lot of people get into real estate. I want you to really think about what we're doing here. You're going to be interacting with all sorts of people at all sorts of parts of their lives and helping them with what for 95% of them will be the most significant financial experience of their life. And you have this enormous control over the outcome of that experience as well as their enjoyment and success of that experience as well. It's a monumental task, and I really can't even explain or get across the gravity of how exciting and important this is to those people's lives. So while we say, yes, your first 100 home sales, sure, I want you to think of it more of you're going to impact to a great degree the lives of 100 people. And yes, they are going to buy a home or sell a home, whether you exist in their world or not, but your skill and ability hopefully is superior, well superior to the average agent, and you can really change the outcome of that quite dramatically for your client, your friend, your family member. So when we talk about big why, first start with this enormous responsibility that we have. Then as we move through it, I want you to really think about, this is a hard job, right? This is not the most fun job all the time. You're a commissioned salesperson. You're going to be earning money. If you do a showing today and you got a paycheck in 90 days, that would be great. A lot of times it's not that. It's possibly going to take you a couple or a few years before you're regularly getting paychecks. And I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that to be realistic about what's out there for you, because I want you to understand that we do need to put in the work at the front to build our database, to build our skill level, to make those sales. When you put all that together with a lot of effort, you're going to have an incredible career. You're going to have the opportunity to earn more money than you would in other comparable job functions. And what we'll talk about, many hours from now towards the end of the class, you're going to have the opportunity to invest in real estate, which is the best investment in any asset class that you could possibly make. So it's a lot of stuff going on, but the outcome, the reward is so big. And I want you to think about, when you think about your why, that when you work in real estate, it's a hard start, but you're going to eventually have the ability to really dictate your hours, dictate your effort level. When you work extra hard, you can make extra income. You want to pull back a little bit, you can pull back a little bit. You might make a little bit less, but you have more control over your time. So there's a lot to consider here, and I'd love for you to pause at some point and really reflect on, what is that going to look like for you? What is that end goal going to look like for you? And we'll do a little exercise too about that. But just pause for a second and really think about, what do you really want to get out of a career in real estate? And what do you really think that you're willing to put in to get to that end point that you've thought about? We're talking about your goal, your big why, and this is something that you're going to come back to time and time again throughout your career. You're going to be dealing with a tough client or just lost an escrow that really set you back, and you're going to have to reflect on what your big why is. So what I'd like you to do, and this is something that you'll continuously change and update, is I'd like you to do a visualization exercise. And that exercise is going to really help you to connect to what you're doing, right? At the end of the day, and a lot of the next chapter will really cover this in detail, I want you to draw a really firm connection between, I'm going to do a prospecting call today and I'm going to make money 6, 9, 12 months from now. Because that is the business, right? So we're going to have to really have an idea that I want that vacation. I want that new house. I want an investment property. I want to take 3 weeks off next year. That all starts with prospecting today, right? So we have to develop this connection. So I'd like you to create some goals for yourself, right? I'd like you to start with goals. And we can start small, and I'll give you some ideas. Don't let my ideas be your ideas. Take my ideas and use them as examples for you. But one of the ones I usually recommend that's easiest for people to visualize is a vacation. Visualize a vacation. Where do you want to go? What does that look like? What's that cost? What is the cost of that vacation in dollars to you? What's the cost in time to you? And let's make a plan to get there, right? So if you want to go on a $5,000 vacation and you make a $10,000 commission check, then after taxes, you can pay for that vacation, right? You also need to be making commission checks to pay for your other expenses as well. But the idea of real estate is that you can work extra hard and you can earn extra money to pay for that thing, right? Maybe it's that you want to buy a house. We can talk about what is the house going to cost, what's the down payment, what do I need on my income to qualify for that house. So we work with some of our agents on finding a house, talking to a lender, and working backwards from there, right? Maybe it's an investment property, right? Maybe it's a new car, maybe it's tuition for college. It could be anything. Pick a goal, small, medium, and large goal, right? What's the short-term goal? What do you want to achieve first, right? You're not going to go grind away for a year in real estate without some sort of reward for yourself, right? What's that short-term goal? What's that medium-term goal? What's that long-term goal? And always have a really good concrete idea of what that is. It's not just a vacation. It's I'm going to go on vacation to Hawaii, right? I'm going to go to this resort. Here's the resort. I've looked at it. I have a picture in my head of where I'm going to be at. And I know that every time I pick up the phone and someone gets mad at me for calling them, I'm going to know I'm one step closer to that vacation, to that home, to that car, tuition payment, whatever it is. So write those down. Even print out photos and keep them by your workstation, right? If you have a wall or a monitor, just tape those photos up so you have a really good visualization of what you're aiming for. So hopefully you've put together in your mind a really good idea of what's your first short-term goal, and maybe you have an idea of your medium and long-term goal. What I want to give you an idea about now is what's your really ultimate goal. And I want you to keep this in mind and like write this down, highlight it, put a box around it, maybe some stars. Real estate is an exit plan, right? If you succeed in real estate, if you have a good career in sales and you properly invest your money in real estate and income producing properties, we can create an exit plan for you to have enough money coming in from your rental properties to make the really big distinction here. I'm going to say this slowly so you can think about it. I want you to get to a point through sales and investing that you can choose to work instead of have to work, right? Choose to work means you work for the enjoyment of, I know that I can go sell someone a home and change their lives, and that feels amazing to give them that experience and help them improve their financial well-being and their family status in their house, right? Have to work means I have to show up to work because if I don't show up to work, I'm not going to pay my mortgage tomorrow. And that's fine. You're going to be there for a while. But at the end of the day, the long-term goal of real estate sales and investing is to get to the inflection point where I can choose to work instead of have to work. So write that down. Think about that. We'll come back to that a lot throughout the course. But that's really the main goal of everything that we're doing here. If you do all this and you succeed to the level that you are capable of succeeding to, that's something that you can strive to get to. All right, so you've made it through the first section of the video training program. Wonderful. Now we're going to get to definitely the most boring part of the whole thing. We'll get that part over with so we get to the more exciting stuff. As it is the most boring part, I can tell you that it is also going to be the most profitable part for you, and that is your database. I spend a lot of time in my training for my team and my other training courses that I do working on database because it's the least interesting and by nature of that, the one that people avoid and ignore and underwork. So we're going to talk a lot about database, and I want you to understand that database is how you're going to get to those short, medium, and long-term goals that you want and towards your exit plan that we just talked about. So what is your database? Your database is a comprehensive online repository of every single person that you know and all of the possible contact information that you can find for them. So when I say every single person you know, I want you to take a deep breath and really consider every person that you know. Everyone you went to elementary school with, middle school, high school, college, previous job, coworkers, friends from Facebook, rec sports leagues, your spouse's friends and colleagues and previous friends from old jobs and sports teams, and every single person that you can possibly think of who you know, because we're going to be prospecting all of them for real estate business. What's really important to understand is this. Every single person wants to buy real estate. There's no one that you know that doesn't want to buy real estate. And if they already have real estate, they eventually will have to sell that real estate. So everyone you know wants to buy real estate, and every piece of real estate will eventually get sold. The trick of our business is being in front of as many people as possible. So when that moment comes, when someone decides they want to buy or need to buy or want to sell or need to sell, that we are directly in front of them and in the middle of that transaction. And I'll share a few examples from my past. One of my first sales was my dentist's son, right? I showed properties to the woman who does my mom's hair, to her and her husband, right? I showed property to the guy who cut the trees at my parents' house. I've sold property to people from every sports league I've ever been in and every social event I've ever been involved with and every level of schooling I've ever been to. many property sales to all those levels because I stay in front of all those people. If you want to get to the most possible return of your business, you're going to have to be in front of all those people, even if it's uncomfortable. So starting with that, let's start with that and then jump into how do we actually go and make our database work.